All right, here we go. Last class, class 13, I left you with a promise. Remember the verbal directions on the daily report, the ones I said may trigger a PSO follow-up. The owner's rep walks up, says, "Go ahead and move that wall. We'll do the paperwork later." Today is the paperwork. Today is where that documented direction turns into actual money, or where it gets lost forever if you handle it wrong. This is Class 14, Project Administration, RFI, ASI, PSO, and OCO, for acronyms. And look at the subtitle, because I mean it literally. The 4 documents you will process every day on your first job. This isn't theory. When you walk onto a job site as a project engineer, this is what your day looks like. You'll be writing RFIs, processing ASIs, pricing PSOs, and tracking OCOs. So if there's a class in this course that maps directly onto your first paycheck, it's this one. Here's the big arc I want you to hold all hour. These 4 documents form a cycle. It starts with a question, moves to a clarification, becomes a price proposal, and ends as a signed contract change. Question, clarification, price, contract. RFI, ACI, PSO, OCO. Let's learn the cycle. 5 pieces today. 1. Document control overview. The mindset behind all of this. The phrase is right there. If it isn't in writing, it didn't happen. Same DNA as last classes. If it isn't documented, it's difficult to prove. Documentation is the through line of this whole course. 2. The RFI, request for information. Purpose, routing, format, response time. 3. The ASI, the architect's supplemental instruction. And the key tension here, legitimate clarifications versus hidden scope creep. We'll talk about that trap. 4. The PSO, the proposed change order. This is the big one, cost breakdown, markup math, and what I'll call the golden rule. And 5. The OCO, the owner change order. 3 signatures, the contract amendment, and the change order log. But before we drill in, look at this workflow, because this is the skeleton everything hangs on. It starts with document control, the foundation. Then in RFI, somebody has a question. The answer might come back as an ASI, a clarification from the architect. If that clarification adds cost or time, it becomes a PSO, a price proposal. And once the owner approves and signs it, it becomes an OCO, a formal change to the contract. That's the whole class in one sentence. How documentation moves from clarification to cost to contract change. A question at one end, a signed contract amendment at the other. Keep that flow in your head all hour, and the 4 acronyms will never confuse you again. Let's start at the foundation. The RFI, request for information. A formal written question used to clarify the construction documents. That's it. At its heart, an RFI is just a question in writing. But the in writing part is everything. What an RFI is. The contractor asks the architect about the design documents during construction. You use it to clarify missing, conflicting, or unclear information before the work proceeds. And notice the direction of flow. It goes from the contractor or GC to the architect or design team. The contractor asks, the design team answers. Let me give you a real scenario. You're building, you pull up the drawings, and the architectural plan shows a door opening at 36 inches wide, but the door schedule says 42 inches. Which is right? You don't know. And if you guess wrong, you frame the opening incorrectly and you're tearing out work. So you don't guess. You write an RFI. Architectural Plan A. 201 shows door 114 at 36 inches. Door schedule shows 42 inches. Please clarify correct width. Now the architect has to answer, in writing, and whatever they say, you're covered. You built what they told you to build. Typical RFI routing. Here's the life cycle. 1. Identify the issue in the drawings or specs. 2. The GC's project engineer prepares the draft RFI. That's you. By the way, that's your job in your first 2 years. 3. The PM reviews and approves it. 4. Submit to the architect. 5. The architect responds. 6. Distribute the answer to the field and any affected parties. And response time depends on the contract and project workflow, which is why, and we'll hammer this, you send them early. What makes a good RFI? This is a skill, and most young PEs are bad at it at first, so learn it now. A good RFI has a specific drawing or spec reference, not the plans, the exact sheet. One clear question, not 5 questions buried in a paragraph. An annotated exhibit or sketch if it helps. A proposed solution or interpretation. This one's underrated. Suggesting an answer makes the architect's job easier and speeds your response. And a reference to the exact location and scope affected. Common reasons for an RFI. Missing dimensions, conflicting drawings, unclear material or product requirements, and coordination issues between trades or disciplines. That last one, coordination between trades, is huge in commercial work. The classic is the ductwork and the structural beam wanting to occupy the same 6 inches of space. The drawings don't catch it, the field does. That's an RFI. CM/GC best practice. Send RFIs early. Do not wait until the work is already delayed. Write facts, not emotion. And track status and distribute the answer to the field. I want to underline the early point. The number one RFI mistake young engineers make is sitting on a question until the crew is literally standing there unable to work. By then the RFI is an emergency and you've lost days. The disciplined PE spots the conflict weeks ahead and gets the question in the pipeline early. Be that person. And why does all this matter? A strong RFI creates a documented clarification trail and protects the project team when scope is unclear. There it is again, the documented trail. The RFI is how you ask a question and protect yourself at the same time. Now, what comes back? Often, an ASI. The ASI, Architect's Supplemental Instruction. An architect-issued clarification that should not change cost or time. Hold on to those words, should not, because that's where the danger lives. What an ASI is. The architect issues a written clarification or supplemental instruction. It's intended to clarify the documents without changing the contract time or contract sum. And for the AIA folks, this is associated with AIA A201, Section 7.4. Directions reversed from the RFI now. This flows from the architect or design team to the GC and CM team. The architect is now the one issuing instruction. So in theory, an ASI is harmless. It's the architect saying, here's a minor clarification, carry on. No cost, no time. But here's the trap, and this is the single most important thing on this slide. Some ASIs quietly contain added scope. The architect issues what looks like a routine clarification, but buried in it is something that actually costs you labor, material, or time. And if you just implement it without reviewing, because hey, it's just a clarification, you've now done extra work for free, with no PSO, no compensation, nothing. The money is gone. Picture it. An ASI comes entitled Clarification of Finish at Lobby. Sounds like nothing. You read it. And it says the lobby wall finish is now a specialty stone veneer instead of the painted gypsum board that's in the contract documents. That is not a clarification. That's a change. That's thousands of dollars of added scope wearing a clarification's clothing. If your PE rubber stamps it, your company eats that cost. If your PE catches it, you reject the no-cost treatment and initiate a PSO. That single catch can be worth more than the PE salary for the month. How an ASI should be handled. So here's the discipline process. 1. Receive the ASI. 2. Review the drawings and attachments. 3. Check cost, time, and trade impact. 4. PM and team evaluation. 5. If no impact, distribute and implement. 6. If impact exists, elevate to a PSO or change review. And the rule under the flow. Do not treat an ASI as automatic authorization for added cost or time. Receiving an ASI is not permission to spend money you won't get back. Review checklist. Compare the ASI to the drawing and spec references. Check labor and material impact. Check schedule and sequencing impact. Check coordination impact between trades. And confirm whether scope has actually changed. That last line is the whole game. Did the scope change? If yes, it's a PSO. Common ASI content. Clarified detail or dimension. Supplemental sketch or note. Coordination clarification. Minor document correction. Most ASIs really are benign, which is exactly why the dangerous ones slip through. CM/GC best practice. Review every ASI carefully. Some contain hidden scope. If cost or time impact exists, notify the team and initiate PSO review before proceeding. And track distribution so field staff are working from the latest instruction. A careful ASI review protects compensation, avoids untracked scope growth, and keeps the team aligned. Treat every ASI as a formal document review. If cost or time changes, elevate it before work proceeds. That word before is doing a lot of work. Once your crew builds it, your leverage is gone. Catch it first. And when you do catch added scope, what do you do with it? You price it. That's the PSO. The PSO, proposed change order. Cost breakdown, markup math, the golden rule. This is the most important slide in the class, because this is where a change turns into a number, and getting that number right is how a contractor stays in business. What is a PSO? A PSO is a contractor's price proposal for a change in scope, cost, and/or time, submitted for review before final approval. The key word is proposed. It's not approved yet. It's not a contract yet. It's you saying to the owner, here's what this change will cost and how much time it'll add. Do you approve? When a PSO is used, owner requested change, differing site condition, design clarification with impact, unforeseen condition, scope revision, or added work. See design clarification with impact. That's the ASI we just talked about, the one with hidden scope. This is where it lands. Cost breakdown, the major pricing components. Now here's the anatomy of a PSO price. 9 components, and you build the number from the ground up. First, the direct costs, the actual stuff, material, all material, and consumables. Labor, direct labor hours and rates. Labor burden, this is payroll burden, fringe, taxes. It's the cost of an employee beyond their hourly wage, workers' comp, payroll taxes, benefits. It's typically 30 to 45% on top of the base wage, and forgetting it is how young estimators lose money. Equipment, owned, rented, or operated. And subcontractor quotes, competitive quotes from your subs. Then the additions, permits and taxes, fees, sales tax as applicable. Overhead, both project and home office overhead, the cost of running the business. Profit, your contractual profit. And time impact, added days and schedule impact, because time is money too. Markup math, the flow. Okay, here's how those components combine into a final number. Follow the arrows. First, direct costs. You sum all the cost components, items 1 through 5. Then overhead. You apply the contract's overhead percentage to those direct costs. Then profit. You apply the contract's profit percentage to the direct plus overhead total. And that gives you your total PSO, the proposed change order amount. Let me put fake numbers on it so you see the mechanics. Say your direct costs come to $10,000. Contract says 10% overhead. That's $1,000, bringing you to $11,000. Then say 5% profit on that $11,000. That's another $550. Your total PSO is $11,550. Notice the order matters. Profit is applied after overhead on the combined total. Do it in the wrong order and your number's wrong. And critically, markup rules come from the contract, and they may be capped on some projects, especially public work. So you don't get to just pick your markup. The contract tells you the ceiling. Know your contract. The golden rule. Now, the golden rule. Read it with me. Never perform extra work with cost or time impact without written notice and a documented PSO or authorization path. In plain English, do not do extra work until you've got it in writing and you've got a PSO in motion. This is the rule that, if you violate it, you work for free. The owner's rep says, just do it. We'll sort the money out later. The disciplined answer is, absolutely. Let me get a PSO into you first. Because later has a way of never coming, and the day you bill for it, suddenly nobody remembers authorizing it. Written notice. Documented PSO. Before the work. Every time. Backup/support required. A PSO is only as good as its backup. You need a scope narrative, a clear description of the change. A sketch or exhibit, visual of the change area. A quantity takeoff, measured quantities. Vendor and subcontractor quotes, valid, current. Labor assumptions, crew, hours, rates, productivity. And a schedule impact note, the impact to the critical path or completion date. Naked numbers get rejected. The PCO that gets approved fast is the one where the owner can see exactly how you got to the number. Common pitfalls. And here's how PCOs get rejected or shorted. Incomplete backup or missing documentation, hidden scope or assumptions not disclosed, missed time impact or days not requested. People remember to ask for the money and forget to ask for the days, and then they're liable for a late finish they should have been excused from, and unsupported lump sums with no detail. A lump sum with no breakdown is the fastest way to get a PCO bounced. Tie every PCO to the source document, the scope change, the cost, and the days requested. Source, scope, cost, days. Get those four right, and your PCO gets approved. And once it's approved and signed, it becomes the OCO. The OCO, Owner Change Order. 3 signatures, contract amendment, change order log. This is the finish line of the cycle, where a proposal becomes part of the actual contract. What is an OCO? An OCO is the formal executed change order that amends the contract when the owner approves a change in scope, contract sum, and/or contract time. 2 heavy words there. Executed means signed, official, done, and amends the contract. This is now a legal modification to the agreement you're building under. The PCO was a proposal. The OCO is the real thing. When an OCO is issued, after review and negotiation of the PCO, after pricing is accepted, after the time impact is resolved, and when all required parties are ready to execute. See the order. The PCO gets reviewed, the price gets negotiated, the time gets settled, and then it becomes an OCO. The OCO is the last step, not the first. 3 signatures required. And here's a rule you must know cold. An OCO requires 3 signatures. The contractor, the authorized company signatory. The architect, the authorized representative. And the owner, the authorized representative. And, without all 3 signatures, the OCO is not fully executed. Let that sink in. If you've got the contractor and the architect signed, but the owner hasn't signed yet, it's not done. It is not a contract amendment. And if you go perform that work relying on a half-signed change order, you're back to working on a promise. Exactly what the golden rule told you never to do. All 3, or it's not real. Contract amendment. What changes? When the OCO executes, for things can change. The contract sum increases or decreases the contract amount. The contract time adds or deducts days from the duration. The scope or description of change clarifies the work added, revised, or deleted. And the supporting references and exhibits, which include the PCOs, ASIs, RFI responses, sketches, and backup. Look at that last one. The OCO carries the whole paper trail with it. The RFI that asked the question, the ASI that clarified, the PCO that priced it, they all get referenced right here in the final document. The whole cycle ties together in the OCO. The execution rule. Work tied to a formal change should be tracked to an executed OCO whenever the contract requires it. Confirm the change is fully signed before treating it as a formal contract amendment. Same discipline as everywhere else. Sign first, then it's real. Change order log. What to track? Now, every change order gets logged. You track a CO number, unique identifier. Description. Related PCO, RFI, or ASI, the source references. Date submitted. Date executed, when all 3 signatures came in. Amount, add or deduct. Days, gained or deducted. Status, draft, pending, executed, or voided. And the running contract total, the updated total after this CO. That running total is the heartbeat of the project's finances. At any moment, you should be able to say exactly what the contract is worth right now, after all the changes. That's what the log gives you. Follow through /CM action items. And once an OCO executes, the work isn't done. You update the budget, update the schedule, update the forecast, issue the subcontract changes, and update the pay application and cost log. A change ripples through everything. Common watchouts. Missing a signature from one of the three parties. Wrong amount. A math error or incorrect unit price. Omitted days impacting contract time. Incomplete exhibits or missing references. And the big one, the change not entered into the change order log at all. An unlogged change order is a change order that gets lost. And here's the formula that governs the whole thing. Original contract sum plus executed change orders equals revised contract sum. That's the math of every commercial project's life. You start with a contract value. You add the signed changes. You get where you actually are today. Simple and absolutely fundamental. Let's bring it all home. The change cycle. RFI to ASI to PSO to OCO. And up in the corner, document it. Price it. Get it approved. And the line I want tattooed on your brain. No PSO equals no pay. The cycle one more time. RFI. The contractor asks the architect a question about the documents. Figure 14 to 21 days for a response. ASI. The architect clarifies. Should be no cost or time, but review it carefully because it may hide scope. PSO. The contractor prices the change with a full cost breakdown and markup. Submit for approval. OCO. The owner approves. 3 signatures. And now it's a legal contract amendment. And the change order log. Track the running totals. Report monthly. A few things to lock in from the key points. On the RFI, a good one has a specific reference, one clear question, an annotated exhibit, a proposed solution, and a cost/time impact reservation. That reservation matters. You flag early that this might carry cost. On the ASI, say it with me. Performing ASI work without a PSO equals forfeit compensation. You do hidden scope ASI work for free if you don't catch it. On the PSO, know your markup structure. Direct costs, labor burden 30 to 45%, overhead 10 to 15, profit 5 to 10. And public contracts cap markups. Know your contract. And never do extra work without a PSO. On the OCO, 3 signatures, contractor plus architect plus owner, all 3 or it's not executed. And the standard form is AIAG 701. That's the document name, worth knowing. And over here, the 2 rules that protect your compensation. No PSO equals no pay. If it's not priced and approved, you don't get paid. And the golden rule, document before you do the work, price before you do the work, get approval before you do the work. Before. That word is the whole class. So what's the point of all 4 documents? The whole cycle? Protect the project. Protect the schedule. Protect your margin. Write it down, price it, get it signed. That's project administration. That's your first job, every single day. Next class, class 15, Thursday, we bring it together. RFP, the complete change cycle, claims, and your week 4 test. So review this cycle, because RFI to ASI to PSO to OCO is going to be on that test, and more importantly, it's going to be on your job. See you Thursday.